I was just introducing the trial and saying that if anyone here is thinking of or has opportunities to do research using Ayurvedic products and they want to understand what the pipeline and pathway for doing that looks like, I think it's important to talk to people that have done it or have been trying to do it like we have. And there's probably a whole load of steps that could be sped up and a whole load of lessons that we've learned where other people could learn from them as well. And so please do talk to us. And us is me. I'm Poppy Mallinson. I'm an assistant professor at the London School of Hygiene and Tropical Medicine. And I also work with the principal investigator of the study, who's Sanjay Kinra, who couldn't be here today, but will be speaking remotely tomorrow. And Manish used to work with us, and also Aaron Deep, who's just had to leave for some teaching she's doing today. But and also Mahesh and other colleagues at London School of Hygiene who couldn't be here. But one thing to first of all say is that we're doing a drug trial. So this trial is being regulated as if we're doing a new experimental drug. So we're having the same stringency of regulation as the new COVID vaccines had when they first came here. And that is because the way the UK regulatory environment is set up is that if you want to bring a product here, to have a given product and test it for a clinical indication as if it's a medicine in a way that the NHS and the UK regulators would see as admissible evidence to actually approve a drug to be used. For that to be the case, even if that thing is already available over the counter, such as many Ayurvedic herbs are, you need to register it as a new drug, so as if we know nothing about it. And that was one of the first challenges for us setting up this trial. We thought, oh, ashwagandha is available over the counter. We wanted to explore whether ashwagandha could help people recover from long COVID. Ashwagandha was available over the counter. We thought, great, this will be a simple trial. We'll do it quickly. People are suffering from long COVID. We'll get an answer in a year. And it took 2 years just to get the approvals in place for the trial. And that's because they said, wait a minute, as far as we're concerned, this is a brand new experimental product. Where's the pharmacological data? Where's the toxicological data? Where's the first in human studies? And we said, first in human, it's been in humans for 3,000 years. So this is the kind of conversations that we were having with the regulators, and which took a very long time. They wanted safety data from ashwagandha in like regulated conditions. But in India, because ashwagandha is so commonly used and it's got a different sort of regulatory status, I suppose, the trials aren't recognized as a sort of high bar of regulatory trials that the UK government would want to be able to put that towards the safety data for ashwagandha. So there's a lot of amazing research in India, but it's not really fully recognized. And that's another issue, is the kind of interoperability of the regulatory systems that we have. And that posed a real challenge for us. And we pulled together dozens of studies from India and a few other countries. And we did a meta-analysis of all the effects and all the side effects. And they didn't really look at that. And they said, sorry, you still have to start again and do a safety study in the UK first. So that's where we're at now, what we've just finished doing. And yeah, that was our challenge in setting up the trial. And then we had to run the trial. And we had some challenges in recruitment. And the main thing here, so we had to recruit through the NHS, through GPs. That's because we're doing a trial of a clinical indication. So clinical doctors have to be involved. You can't just kind of do it to members of the public and give them these things. You have to do it through clinical pathways. So we had to recruit GPs to the trial. And then we had to get those GPs to recruit their patients coming in who were diagnosed with long COVID into the trial. And it was very hard to find GPs who had the time to do research. We all know how busy GPs are. We thought that maybe Indian GPs would be interested. And we worked with some of the amazing colleagues here to spread that through our networks. And we didn't actually manage to recruit any Indian GPs, but we found some GPs from other parts of the country that have interest in traditional herbal medicines and things like that. And we now have 14 sites that have recruited and have done an amazing job in a very, very difficult environment for GPs to be spending their effectively spare time to try and add research into their like portfolio of activities that they're doing. But they do it because they believe it's good for medicine to have research done. They believe it's good to patients to be involved, and especially for long COVID patients, they know there's not any other treatments for them, and they know how desperate they are. So it's been amazing to work with these GPs and also some long COVID clinics on this, but a real challenge to find them. And we thought that would be easier, but it hasn't been. And it does make me question, is there a way that some of the Indian GPs we have here, as we've seen 30%, maybe not of GPs, I don't know, could be more involved with this kind of research and might require some training and upskilling of these teams. For example, they need to have certain good clinical practice qualifications to do research. And if you don't have that, then often they won't be involved. So I don't know if there's a way that we can help from the ground up, the Indian doctor community can help this research happen better. And if anyone knows anyone who might want to recruit into our trial when we hopefully reopen, well, I'll tell you about that in a minute, then please do let us know, because we're always looking for new GPs and non-COVID clinics. And then finally, we had some system level challenges. One is about funding. So I think this is not necessarily applicable for us, but this is for Ayurvedic science in the UK in general. We've talked a lot about how the big pharma, develop the drugs they do and sell them for profit, and Ayurveda offers a more holistic approach from products that already exist in the world, plants that already exist, and we don't need to develop them and spend billions of dollars developing those drugs. But because there's not a profit motive, therefore there's not the money to do the research. So research still costs money, partly because it costs clinicians time, which costs a huge amount, especially how stretched they are. So obviously funding is needed to get this research done, and that's one of the barriers. That's probably why there's hardly any traditional medicine, let alone Ayurvedic medicine research that's been done in the UK. And we're funded, this trial, the April trial, is funded by the Ministry of Ayush in India, and they have money now, probably for the first time, to sort of do this international research. And that injection of funding is what means this trial's happened, and potentially some other trials around the world. So again, we need to think systemically how is this operation going to be funded. UK funders are sort of not very easy to persuade to fund this kind of research, but I think it could be done if there was initial signs of effectiveness, and if there was public and scientific interest. UK funders could come on board, and that could untap other realms of money for which to fund these kind of trials and studies that will eventually get these medicines onto things like the NHS, or even just recognised as an effective medicine full stop, even if they're not in the NHS. And then finally, we were publishing the protocol paper for this trial, which is under review now. It's been rejected from journals on the basis that they don't accept research on complementary medicines. And so we felt there's also an aspect of inherent bias within the scientific publishing community against studies that relate to complementary medicines. And we pushed back on this and said, this isn't a complementary medicine. We have been made to run this trial exactly from the bottom first step, as if it was a fully regular Western medicine, which is why we had to go through all this effort. And yet they sort of say, but it's a complementary medicine, so you can't publish here. So we found that really frustrating, but it also emphasizes this like duality where you sort of lose on every hurdle trying to do this kind of research. And again, it'd be interesting to talk to anyone else who's experienced this kind of thing, and maybe we could write something about that. So those are my 3 challenges I think we faced. I think there's been some real successes. As I say, it's been amazing that we've managed to get 14 GPs and long COVID clinics on board. 105 long COVID patients have been in the trial and are taking or have taken ashwagandha or the placebo tablet. And the patients have been amazingly keen and cooperative and just incredibly grateful to do the research, which is funny because we're grateful for them for doing it. So it's really amazing to interact with them like that. And finally, in the summer, we started recruiting some GP sites in Scotland. And this is the first time that GPs in Scotland have run any clinical trials of medicines. So actually, they've been thanking us for raising the capacity of GPs for the research in Scotland. So there's been some real exciting firsts from the trial. We've paused the trial temporarily while we're trying to wait and see if we're going to get more funding from the Ministry of Ayush to extend it and carry on. If not, we'll have to stop now and do a safety trial. And if so, we'll carry on for a 1.5 years and do a bigger trial. But by the end, after all these steps of setting it up, it has started to go really well. And we've been really touched by the sort of interactions we've had there, but also really disappointed with some of the barriers. And it'd be great to sort of talk together and work together to overcome those for future research. So yeah, thank you.